Alright, welcome back to my VMware series. If you've been with me before, you know we've installed a couple ESXi hosts. We got a VM on each of them. The problem is, since they're standalone hosts, all the resources are siloed. We really can't pool them together and harness the true power of vCenter. So what we're going to do is install a vCenter server here so we can manage them together. And from there we can do some other stuff like configure high availability, do templates, and all that good stuff. So let's just go ahead and get started on this. We're going to do the simple install. We got a small farm here, just 2 hosts. We're not going to have a lot of VMs. So we're going to put it all together. You could install it separate, but for small farm, you know, a few hundred VMs is probably the simple install would be the way to go. We've got our .NET framework. We got our Windows installer because we're going to use the SQL Express database. So we're just going to go ahead and start our install here, get it going. Install is the single sign-on. This will allow us to log in. Just click next. Accept the agreement. You know, we want to use software, so we got to agree to it. And then create our password for the default user of vCenter. Now you want to make this secure because just like the root password for the ESXi host, if someone has this, then they have complete control over your vCenter environment. I'm going to install the local SQL Server Express. I don't have another database in this environment, and the database isn't going to be that big, so we'll be okay there. And of course, we got to get the database password set up. Alright. And it resolved our host name, the server we're on. And I'm just going to use the service account here. I'm going to change the install directory only because I have more space on my data drive, which is E. There we go, that looks better. And let's get going here. Oh, the HTTPS port for connecting to the single sign-on and install. Alright, we're just going to run evaluation mode. I don't have a license key right now. We can grab that later. And we'll just do the small deployment, 5 hosts, 50 virtual machines. You could use an existing database. So anyway, we can go this route. System account. And it's just going to run under the administrator. And our ports, we're going to leave them all the default ports. And we got a small deployment here for us. And there we go. Got the simple install done. And one more thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and install the update manager. That way we can go ahead and update, because it is vSphere 5.1. It's old, and again, the point, from the beginning was to install this old version so we can go through some upgrade processes to see how that goes. But anyway, let's install update manager. All right. Accept the agreements because we want to be able to use the software as usual. And we're going to go ahead and download the updates as soon as it's installed. That way they're available to us. Since we did the simple install, this is it's on this particular server, so we don't have to change that. And we're going to put in the Windows credentials that have access to the vCenter server, which in our case is the domain admin. Yep. What did I do here? Can't spell, that's what I did there. Alright. Let's go forward again. Alright. So we're just going to use the Express instance because it's a small deployment. We're going to leave it default. We don't have any proxy settings that we have to set up, not on our network. And I want everything to be on the E drive here because I have more space there. Alright. And install. Okay, got that done. Alright, so we are done with all this here. Let's get logged in. And we already had the client installed from the host. Use browser through ESX host and install it. Just use the same one. Alright, so we're just going to type localhost. So we're on this machine. If you were on another machine, you would type the server's IP address or name. We're going to use a local administrator password here. So that's what we've installed it as. So that's going to have access off the bat. It just uses a self-sign certificate. So we're going to install this certificate and ignore it. If you had gone through and purchased a certificate from, certificate authority, you shouldn't see this, but we know it's coming up, so we're just going to ignore it. All right, and we're on a evaluation key. We didn't supply one in the install. That's fine. The evaluation gives us all the options. Once the evaluation's over, it's severely restricted. And before we add hosts, we have to make a data center. So let's just make our data center. And you can name it whatever you want, something that means something to you. And this is where we can add our hosts. And these are the hosts we created earlier. And you want your root credentials here. And it's the same thing from when we first logged in. We're using unsigned certificates. If you're using signed certificates, this would be a problem. And I put in the wrong password. There we go. And we can see his name, his version and build, and the virtual machines that are already running, which is our machine right now. And we're not going to assign a license key because we don't have any installed. If we lock it down, we won't be able to log in directly to the server. For now, I'm not going to enable it. In your environment, you may want to enable that. Again, if it's enabled, you can only log into the ESX host from vCenter. And we're going to put it in that data center and finish that. So now, we're pulling in the standalone host. And while that's working, let's just go ahead and pull in our other host. No need to wait. Again, our password here. Same thing. And we see that there's a machine on that. We'll pull them in. We don't have a license key. We're not going to enable lockdown. Pull them in. And he's working. As we see, our original host came up. We can get all his information. We see his data stores. We see his virtual machines. We can look at his resources, performance, all the stuff that we would normally see if we connected to it directly. We're just doing it through vCenter now. Another one that has added. So now we got vCenter running. We've got our hosts in here, but in order to really harness the power of vCenter, we need to put these in a cluster. So let's go ahead and make our cluster, give it a name. HA allows, so if our first host were to go down, our second host would be able to restart the machines that were on the host. Since they had the access to the same data stores, they know the servers that each other ones have, they're able to detect the failure, bring up those VMs, and continue running. DRS lets you pull your resources go ahead and turn that on too. Also, like say one host gets too busy, it can pull some VMs off to the other ESX host and alleviate the bottlenecks. And we're going to fully automate it on this. We just want it to make its own decisions. And we're not going to do the power management for this. We'll just manage the power ourselves. We are going to leave emission control on. We're going to tolerate one host failure. And we're going to leave all the VMs on. If the host gets separated from vCenter for some reason, we don't want our VMs to shut down. And we could restart the VMs if we wanted. If the VMware tool heartbeat's not received, I'm going to leave that off. Because if VM's down, I want to know about it. And we're going to leave the EVC disabled. Just if you had like hosts with different processors, and if you had a mix of different types of hosts, this would help allow for the VMs to function on different hosts. We're just going to leave the swap file in the same place. And just a review of our settings. And let's finish this up. And we're simply going to drag and drop here. We're not going to create a resource pool right now. We just want them in the cluster. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Now we're in the cluster and we've got some information. Let's see what this is all about. All right, so as we see, this host has no management network redundancy. If we look in our networking, our management network only has one NIC. We don't have any more NICs available, so we're not going to be able to resolve this. Well, we'll be able to resolve it, but not the way VMware really intends us to. But anyway, so what you'd want to do is create a second NIC on your ESX host, assign it to the VMware network, but we don't have any available, so we just don't want this to be an issue for us. I'm going to come over here to the advanced options. And we're going to enter this key. Set it to true, so we want it to ignore the redundant network warning. Okay, click OK. And let's reconfigure both hosts for HA. And as we can see, it's uninitialized, uninitialized. It's in the election process here. They're trying to figure out which one is going to be the master. All right, they're connected. This one came up as the master. That was the slave. So our cluster looks good. We've got 2 hosts running in it, and got a couple of VMs. So now we can see, our hosts and VMs clusters. We could sort it this way if we wanted, just to see our VMs and templates. We can see our data stores. Then we can see across all the hosts at one time. And we can see our networks that we have. So anyway, that's setting up a VMware cluster. It took a little while, but we got it going. We'll come back later. We'll do some stuff like vMotion, and we'll shut down a host and watch the process of the other host picking up. But anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to check back later. We'll start going through some of the functions of vCenter, and a little bit later on, we'll start doing some upgrades, get everybody patched, and eventually we'll be up to the latest code. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.